Welcome back to the Stockwell Roche Show. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
I'm John Van Hall with Remax Advantage Plus.
We have Brad Kirscher in studio, an attorney at law, talking about exiting gracefully and also saving your home. Eric Swift talking about insurance, and Stephanie Havel with Wells Fargo. Brad, before we left on break, had told us a teaser about what he's going to be talking about on saving your home. I'll let Brad continue on with that.
So we're looking at a situation where, say, a homeowner has two mortgages. They're behind in payments on both of them, and they're staring down the barrel of a foreclosure notice. The first mortgage is foreclosing. Their house is underwater because of the second mortgage. If not for that second mortgage, it would make sense to keep the house. What can they do? Well, that's where Chapter 13 bankruptcy comes in. This is a long-term strategy to save your home through the bankruptcy process. And what happens in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is it's a payment plan for your debt, and it has a couple of benefits that the other kind of bankruptcy, Chapter 7, which is what most people think of, does not have. And one is that, say you're 6 months behind on that first mortgage, you have the right to reinstate that mortgage by paying your 6 months of arrearages prior to the foreclosure sale. But a lot of people are in a situation where they can't come up with that money. Well, by filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy prior to the foreclosure sale, the effect is that 6 months of arrearages is now converted into something that can be paid through a payment plan of 3 to 5 years. And so if I'm in foreclosure, I need $12,000 to reinstate because I want to keep the house, but I don't have $12,000. I can file a Chapter 13 bankruptcy prior to that foreclosure sale, and I now have a situation where I can make monthly payments. I resume making my mortgage payments, but I also have a separate monthly payment in the Chapter 13 payment plan that will pay off that $12,000 in arrearages. And now I'm no longer in default of my first mortgage.
Yep. And you're essentially saved your home that you want to. This is if you want to keep it and you plan on having a plan to keep your home in a situation like that. The key to that date, the key there, folks, is the date. It's the sheriff's sale date, right? It has to be done prior to the sheriff's sale date.
Yes, it has to be. It absolutely has to be done prior.
So when you're going through the foreclosure, if you haven't been through it, you haven't talked to anybody who's been through it or done it or seen it, it's new, so you don't know what's going on. You don't understand these letters and these things that are going on and the timelines and what does this mean? Does that mean I'm out of my house on that date and all that? There's a lot of information to get into, but the point is talk to someone if you're in that situation. It's still going on, folks. Even though John talked about the great statistics in the market, and we talk about the great job market and the great recovery since the Great Recession, there's actually still a higher percentage than there should be of default.
Yeah.
It's still higher than it should be statistically for default on mortgages. So make sure to reach out for help. Go to tcrealestatehour.com. Completely anonymous if you do need help with anything, or call 651-400-0773, and we'll be happy to help you through that situation. And many times, if someone takes the time to do that and can help you through that, when you rebound and when things recover or get better, or you get everything settled, or the divorce gets finalized, or whatever it may be, or you get a job that pays better, or you get a new job, they're the ones that helped you in the downturn. You're going to remember and come back, and they'll help you on the rebound when you come back and want to buy again. Because I hate to have people go through a negative situation like a short sale or something like that, or a foreclosure or a bankruptcy, and then, I've heard it, and you guys have probably heard it too, is, I'm never going to buy a house again. Worst mistake I ever made. Right? I mean, I've heard it. And there's people out there that just are not going to, even though it may totally make sense for their lifestyle, for their financial situation, and for their age group even.
And what you talk about at the beginning of every show, we're lacking inventory. Yeah. So, if you have an inkling and your life is changing and, maybe you're going to start a family and maybe you're not going back to work, or you're going to have daycare expenses, and thinking, is this house, can we really afford this? Now is the time to sell. So talk to a real estate agent and just say, or, again, call your lender. If it's going, even think you're going to be late on your first month, 30 days. Call a real estate agent. All right, let's look at the possibility of selling this, or
Yes.
talking to
Taking
your
it-
lender and so forth right away.
It's so much easier
Be
to do
so
that before
proactive.
the accrued interest happens, or before the fees start happening, or before it gets through the process. Especially in the market right now, you can actually, many people can get out, or you may have a little bit in savings they can utilize to sell if you need to sell. And everybody knows this, right? I mean, we're so short-term memory, right? We have a very short-term memory in our history of, especially in finances and economy. It seems like we're going up right now. The whole economy is, right. It always goes in cycles. I remember I took economics class at Gustavus, and Brad. I don't know if you took economics, but
Macro and micro.
yeah, it's always a loop, or it's always a uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill. It doesn't. The timeline may be different of the uphill. The timeline may be different on the downhill, but there will be a downturn again, folks. There will be a downturn. Some people are thinking it's happening sooner than later. We don't know. No one really knows, except for maybe a handful of people, and I'm not one of them, right?
Right.
And someone mentioned Donald Trump's bankruptcies. I mean, there's a guy who took advantage of the downturns, right? I mean,
Oh, yes.
something bad happens, you take advantage to it to your full potential, and then when it swings back up, you take advantage of that too.
Yeah.
Or one of my one of favorite life quotes is "Learn from the mistakes of others because life is too short to make them all yourself."
Amen.
You know,
Yep.
so yeah, take what other people. Unfortunately, what else has happened to somebody else or to your neighbor? You know, hey, if they're in foreclosure, you're upside down. Think about selling your house again. Might be a great opportunity to just get out while the getting's good and save face.
If you were smart enough or lucky enough or fortunate enough to be buying a home in the downturn, if you bought in 9, 10, 11, or 12, or even 13, and you're got good equity in there, maybe you do sell and get that equity and put it to use somewhere else, or do something else. I mean, I've seen people do that bought some duplexes they were living in half, and they rented out half, and then now they're renting both out and buying and taking the equity out and buying something else, taking some of the equity out. We don't want to encourage people to take huge chunks of equity out again, but to just be smart. Just have a plan and be smart. And if something bad happens, reach out earlier than later, and you'll be able to be ahead of the curve and maybe make stuff happen, right, Brad, that you wouldn't. Options would be available to you that may not be later, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
There is a point on the Chapter 13 bankruptcy, if I can have a minute, just because I led into it and then I didn't finish up on it. Another thing you can do in the Chapter 13 bankruptcy is strip off that second mortgage. So if the reason why you don't want to stay in your house is financial and it's because you're underwater because of a second mortgage, there are situations where you can remove that second mortgage entirely from your home in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And I think that's a good example of being able to make the absolute best situation out of a bad situation, which is you're in financial trouble, you're filing bankruptcy, but my goodness, you can get rid of that second mortgage that very likely never should have been given in the first place.
Yep. And these are all for you if you're really going through a tough situation. None of these things apply if things are great and you're making tons of money and things are good. None of this applies to you. Then you should be calling us to buy investment property, frankly. But this is for people that are truly in situations where they need help, and the writing's on the wall that something bad is going to happen, and there's no real near-sighted, near future thing that's going to change. So then you need help. So, on a side note, get out, have fun. Don't let the terrorists scare you away from doing the things you love to do, or do the things you love that you want to do, or travel, or see people, or go shopping, or what have you. Stay strong and get out there and have fun and enjoy the holidays. I want to thank Johnny V for filling in for Josh.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Eric, Brad Kirscher, Eric Swift, Country Financial, Brad Kirscher, Kirscher Law Firm, Stephanie Havel, Wells Fargo,
StephanieHavel.com.
StephanieHavel.com, Stephanie with an F.
Yep.
And go call us if you have questions, 651-400-0773. Have a great holiday season. Have a great week. And remember, love yourself and love others.